Hi everyone, so this is something a little bit different and I thought I would do a review of Ayr in the Haven site. We have been there 4 times in the last 3 years and we have enjoyed it. Each time we went, the accommodation, I've already reviewed that and you might have seen it. The apartments, I don't recommend, but every time we've been in a caravan, it has been lovely. In the time that we visited, I think we took part in nearly every single activity you could. You can't really fit it in to a 3 or 4 day stay because the timings are quite similar, which means you can only really do a few activities a day. But because we've been so many times, we've managed to get through quite a lot of them. It is a really good site. We haven't booked for this year, and I'm starting to think if we should because the children just really enjoy it. They love it there. There's so much to do for all ages, from toddlers up to my 16-year-old son. He really enjoys it there too because they cater for everybody. But this is just like a little review and our thoughts on it, and it will show you some of the activities throughout. So this is our space, and this is like the main area. It's got the shop and the reception. In our space you can book activities, and also a lot of the activities take place. So handball and the tots morning. There's also the Nerf wars go on in there. The skate disco also happens in here. So it is a lot of the activities inside, and if you can't book on the app then you can also do it at this little reception. So the shop is right next door, and then in here you have this soft play. This is for 5 to 11-year-olds, I think. Does it say there? But the younger children, there's like little bits that children under 5 can play in too. This is a little arcade area, but the machine never works to get money out, so you're best taking some before you go. This was the Nerf wars all set up ready to go, but the tots morning was also here, and like I said, a lot of the activities are there. Soft play's good, but it does need a really good clean. This is the main village area at Ayr. This is where Papa John's is, the gift shop, and when you come in from the caravans you walk this way up to all of the entertainment. That is the activity village over there, which is another place that quite a lot of the activities take place. There's a park here, the bungees, and the restaurant is also just there. Swimming is just up that hill, so all of the amenities are really close together. Pick and paint is just what you'd imagine. You pick a piece of pottery, you paint it, and then they bake it for you so it sets, and you go and pick it up the next day. This was, I believe it was £12 per person to book, but the £12 is for the smaller pieces, so the cup that Zia has and Kiva has. I think there were some plates too that you could paint at that price, but there are a different range of ones. So Neve picked the cat, and I think that was like an extra £6 on top of it, so it ended up being £18 for her to do that. And Kiana picked like a fairy house, which was much bigger, and that ended up being around £25 in total, I think. So even with that initial booking fee, we did have to pay more on the day, but it all depends on what you pick. It is perfect for a rainy day. The weather wasn't too great. This is inside the activity village here, out of the weather, and there didn't seem to be a time limit, so we were there for about an hour and we had to leave because the boys had archery, but they weren't trying to move us on. They were allowed to just sit and take their time, and we really enjoyed it. We went as the girls, so we went and had some family time. You can see Kiana's there. Hers is much larger, so I reckon that's why it cost so much more, but they've still got them now. It's 2 years later and they still have them sitting in their bedroom, so it's definitely worth doing. It's worth the price, and we had lots of fun. The climbing walls are inside the activity centre, so every time, or the activity village, so every time you go in and out, you walk past them, and obviously the children seen it and just wanted to give it a go. It was £12 per person for a half an hour session, and there are a variety of different walls. So some are more difficult than others, some are easier to climb obviously for beginners, and you can time yourself, and there's an opportunity to like get the best time of the day of going up that specific wall. Children really loved it. They were able to swap between it quite easily. It's quite small sessions, so 5 of our children booked in actually, and there was only one other person there with them. So the only downside to this that I can see is that obviously with all of the activities you get a safety talk before you go on it, and with a few of them you have to have the harnesses put on. But with this one it seemed to take longer because there was only one member of staff and she was doing it for all 6 of them, which means that it took a good 10 minutes for them all to get ready and before they could even go on the walls. And then with the next people booked in half an hour after you, it means they also come down about 5 minutes before. So in reality they got about 15, maybe 20 minutes at the most on the walls, which for £60 that we paid is not as much time as we would have hoped for them to be up there. So the first time that we went to Craig Tara, it was in the middle of COVID, which meant that none of the indoor activities were on, and the only thing that you could book was the outside golf, which is here. This was only £3 per person, and because of COVID it meant that we got the whole place to ourselves, although when we've been back they do start other families just after you once you get on to like the 3rd course of it. Then another time when we've been back we also did the indoor mini golf, crazy golf. I think this was £4 per person, so it's £1 more expensive than the outdoor one, but it's a lot better. The courses are a lot better. It's much more fun and all of the children really enjoyed it, and this is one of the cheapest things to do. This is the Bampton Play, and they have sessions of these running all the way through the day. If you book in the morning it's obviously a lot quieter, and it's only £4 per child and you get half an hour on there. They have 2 sessions. They have one for under 5s or under 6s, and then one for 6 to 11s. We've used both of them for all of our children and they've really enjoyed it. It is just a simple bounce house, as you can see. Archery was one of the first activities that the boys wanted to do. That was £12 per person and it was for half an hour. They had such a good time. The instructor was fantastic with them, showing them what to do, and obviously the safety talks and explaining everything in there. The only downside to this is, even though it was the 3 of them, they shared a bowl and they took it in turns rather than getting a full half an hour of archery. They had to take it in turns, and I don't think that was because they were part of the same family, as there was someone else there too, and they had 2 people sharing. So I believe that that's just the way that it works. But for the money, all of the boys had such a good time and we would definitely recommend it. So this is the aerial adventure, and this was one of the children's favourite activities. They wanted to do this the first time that we went, and it was the second time that they tried it. This is inside the adventure village and it's £20 per person. If you're under a certain height you do need an adult to go on with you, but they do have like a mini one for toddlers too. So it was £20 per person, but that was for a full hour, and the other activities are often shorter than that. And my husband went on with Caleb because he was under the height requirement. But I'd say this is probably their favourite activity out of all of them. As you can see, the staff are really good and they're encouraging them. Caleb don't want to go across here, so he is being encouraged to go across to my husband. And yeah, it's just really good. We were the last lot of the day, and they didn't rush like the other activities. They tried to finish up early, you know, and tried to rush through it, but they didn't with this. There was only one other family there with 2 people on it, and then the rest of it was our family, and they just took their time and let them go around and have fun on there. There are so many different things to do on the course. There's lots of different ways that you can go, and it's just good fun all round. Our children ranged from 9 up to 16, and every single one of them enjoyed it. Of course, like all holiday parks, there are a lot of arcades. They have the game machines, they have small little rides for the younger children to go on. There's a VR ride which the older children absolutely loved, and I think that was £4 each. They have the basketball games, the 2p machines, the 10p machines, the claw grabber, anything you can think of is here. It is quite a big selection of things to do, and you can also queue for the entertainment in here. So while you're waiting in those queues, the children tend to go off and play on the machines. Of course, it's expensive, but just like anywhere, the arcades are one of the best things for the children. They absolutely loved it and went there every single day. So one of the things that the children love going back for and have done multiple times is the adrenaline. It's basically a big zip line that goes right across the top outside the activity centre, and then you go, it's like a 2-part, so you go across this part, and then there's a smaller bit that you then have to go from the next platform across. This is £12 per person. Like I say, the children have done it multiple times because they really loved it. And even Caleb was too small the first time, and Caleb still wasn't heavy enough the second time, and he is 10, he was 10. I think the minimum age is supposed to be 11, but it's not so much strict on that as it is for the weight, so he wasn't able to do it. But this was probably one of the most loved activities that the children did, and we had perfect weather for it this time, as you can see. So directly underneath adrenaline is the jump. It obviously takes place at different times, but all of the children, all of the older children were able to do this. You do some practice jumps, and then you officially jump off of the higher tower. It was meant to be 2 times, but the staff were fantastic, and because the kids had so much fun, they just kept letting them go back up over and over again. It was quieter as it was check-in day, so there wasn't as many people doing it. But another activity we would highly recommend. £10 per person, and it was well worth that money. Swimming is also included. You can book once before you go, but we never had a problem going down and booking in the morning at the actual swimming pool. We've also done lots of the free activities. They have football, handball, nature walks. They're all free. They have a tots morning that's £2, and it's basically just ball games for them. And I'm sure there's a lot. There's like den building and other things that we haven't got around to just yet. But if you can't tell by now, we really enjoy going there. The accommodation, we have had problems with the apartments, but if you can book a caravan, I would highly suggest booking a caravan, and it is worth it. The activities are really good value for money, and there is so much to do. There is something to suit everyone for all ages. If there's anything in particular you would like to know about, please just leave a comment and I'll try my very best to get back to you. But we would go again if it was in a caravan. In fact, we probably will go again. It's quite close to us and we just love going there.